Thank you guys for the great presentations. To start off, Ian and Craig, can you guys quickly introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah. Yes, my name is Ian Willets. I'm with Aviva, responsible for the process and simulation business, which includes the AR/VR work.
I am Craig Bauhaus, Director of Manufacturing, part of our North America industry subject matter experts in manufacturing, supporting our account teams across manufacturing solutions.
So to start off, do we have any question from the audience? Yep.
To Craig, I'm currently in the study of using wearables for safety, and the HoloLens with the deep fibers, especially when the two came out, for the eye-facing cameras. Unfortunately, to ask a worker to wear that apparatus for an 8-hour shift is a little much right now. I'm wondering what the product life cycle is and where you see the sizing of the apparatus coming down to something that can be wearable for a full 8-hour shift.
I think there's two parts to that. One is there was significant work that went into downsizing and making it more wearable for the longer period of time, from the first iteration to the new HoloLens 2 that has come out. I'm not sure the practicality of having that on for 8-9 hours a day is really the intended use as of now. So I think part of that design is, yes, we want to get to the point where you can wear it longer, but I'm not sure if it's designed right now to be on 8 hours a day. It's really developed more for situational use. If you're doing maintenance, it's in your bag until you get to the appropriate place, and then you're able to put that on. But there's not a roadmap as far as design that I'm aware of yet, and that's just my access to the information. But there was significant thought put into it, going from HoloLens 1 to what's coming out now in 2. Hope that helps.
Hi, hello. Hi, I'm Drew Belcock from Niagara Bottling. I was wondering how both of the speakers justified the cost of those projects in terms of ROI for your business.
Good question.
So I'll start. So like I said on the presentation, we started with a limited use case, and we found out that we couldn't really justify a $5,000 investment per device for a device that's not being used all the time and just for training purposes. But when we were able to reduce costs elsewhere by getting rid of the scan gun, the tablets for taking the checklist of the order, and actually getting rid of the operating cost of that technology, right? That helped us build that case. And really, when we got to getting the part of deeper integration into the operations to get rid of, the manual inventories and all of those tasks, that's when it became a no-brainer. The other piece that I didn't mention that is very important, and is part of the reasons why we went with Microsoft, not only because we have established a very strong partnership, but also because we were interested in developing this solution from the beginning. So when we started, there wasn't really a product out there that was doing what we wanted to do or in the way that we wanted to do, and we already had some experience with them. But also being able to scale, to create an enterprise scalable solution that we could then roll out in the future to other parts of our organization and across our businesses. So if you think about it, it's not just about one location, it's about the scale that we can get to for the organization, and that's when it really became the business case apparent, and we're working with them on this deployment with the new 2.0 technology for HoloLens. So we're moving from the concept and the pilot and the beta testing into actually thinking about deploying these further. So I can give you a number because I don't already have the numbers, but I know that based on what we've done, we're going to get there to make it, very interesting for us.
Right. Matt?
Yeah, in our case, it's a business continuity question. It's a much bigger question than just implementing a technology looking for ROI. In our case, we want to avoid that high attrition rate that we are going through. In our case, if we don't have competent people, we don't have a plan to operate. So it's a major cost that we go through today to bring in people, train them, make them efficient. So when I was given this project, the chairman basically said in his board meeting, cost is no object, but it'll be soon an object, as we talked to Aviva.
So I'll add two more to that from other customer experiences. One is when you start thinking about remote engineering, you're immediately thinking about thousands of dollars in travel costs. If you save one trip from that engineer being shipped to the Middle East with 3 days notice, that pays for that device itself, if you can do that. Others is in training, some of the examples that you've seen today. If with using this technology to speed up training and provide confidence in training, that you're getting that money back in the consistency of the employees that are coming on board. They're faster to being fully operational, but the retention rate is greater because not only are they learning faster, they have more confidence in what they're doing, but they're actually getting to use latest technology. And when you're working with folks that are in manufacturing in the middle of the country that don't typically get to use this type of technology, it's exciting for them to come to work. And you can measure that in dollars, but a lot of times it's more measurable in other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ian, you want to add something?
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to say, and I don't want to start the negotiation with Matt in front of an audience here. So I mean, we're at a digitization workshop, and I've been through the exhibit hall. I'm sure you all have, and there's lots of demonstrations of digital twins, 3D digital models of facilities. Whether it's a greenfield plant or a brownfield plant that's being laser scanned, the availability of those 3D models is much more prevalent today than it ever has been in the past. And we can, within the Aviva XR Studio, we can import those 3D digital models. And rather than just have it as a navigation device where you can actually sort of move around the plant, through the XR Studio, we've got all of the training capabilities built into the system so that you can then become an avatar, like in the short video we showed. So building those training programs can be more cost effective today than it ever has been before.
Yeah. I guess we have another question in the audience.
So on a new construction site, could you use this type of technology for finding materials in a laydown yard and then locating where those materials will be installed in the new building?
Is that aimed at you or us?
You want to answer? I can answer that.
How can you do that? I'm sure it can be done.
We have not done it. In fact, I want to give you horror stories about laydown yard. We just finished a new project, which is called J3. It involves major petrochemical complex building. And it usually takes Reliance 2 to 3 years to finish a project, as opposed to a multinational like Exxon. It takes a little longer because they are much more structured, and there are methods and processes and gates. And in our case, the gate is our owner. The chairman says, go get it, we go get it. And there is no purchase order required. But we have a method to this madness of building on how we monitor a project. Basically, when we meet on these projects, the head or the chairman asks, how much money have you spent? And that determines the progress on the project. So this time, we bought everything, all the steel, all the valves, everything, pipes, and they got buried under the dust and soil so much that we had tough time searching for it. So your question is a very good one, where if one can tag them as they come in, and store them appropriately. For example, if you store piping and all that in open air with rain, what many people don't know is it corrodes.
Yeah.
Not just external. The microbial corrosion is even worse because of the water retention. So it's an excellent question. It can be used if there is a structured way of doing it.
Yeah.
So yours is a very specific example, but I'll genericize it a little bit. So a couple of the different areas that we've seen in similar scenario. One is with operating rooms. So we have partners that are developing solutions where they're designing operating rooms with HoloLenses. In other areas, we're taking a HoloLens into a manufacturing plant. So if they're looking to install machinery or a line, they can physically go out there and take a look at where that machinery is going to go and make adjustments based on what they're seeing in real time. If a forklift is coming by, let's say, while they're out there in that space, they can use that to design new spaces. The third one is more general construction, doing inspections. In a lot of cases, some examples that we have where the inspectors are able to come in with a HoloLens and be able to see the digital blueprints versus and an overlay of what's there and be able to say, okay, this piping's wrong, this piping's right, this HVAC isn't installed properly. So they're able to see what it's supposed to be over top of the reality and make those adjustments on the fly. So a couple different examples related, but yours is more specific, and I'm not aware of somebody that's done it for that specific
Yeah,
reason.
I have heard of something similar as well, where you are able to see the blueprint as, in augmented reality, but you are asking for something specific. I haven't seen something really particularly to that. We have another question in the audience.
Thank you, Jaco Wijnands from Air Products. A question for Matt. I'm very interested in your OTS and what were your challenges in terms of deciding the level of fidelity of the OTS and how you went through that decision process and testing it out to make it effective.
You're talking about OTS selection.
Yes.
You want to answer that?
You go first.
Yeah, we use a Honeywell product, and we never had any benchmark when we started, and the benchmark we got was what Honeywell provided. But over a period of time, as we implemented it, the main use of OTS is for training panel officers to get ready. And what we found was the design was such that we were finding problems with the control systems implementation. We were actually helping the construction steer themselves properly based on OTS. Today, I can't answer OTS in any fidelity question in any quantitative terms, but it does reflect actual operation. It emulates, the DCS is emulated.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously, Reliance went with the Honeywell OTS and not with the Aviva OTS. To answer your question, the philosophy within Aviva is not to define the solution before you understand the problem. So, we have a sort of a learning team led by Graham Provost, who's in the room. And back to the competency assurance system that Matt described, lay down the competency framework that you need before you even think about, do I need a high, medium, or low fidelity OTS? Because OTS is it's a solution, but it's not the only solution available. So define the competency framework and then identify the correct simulation that will provide the training that you need.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's very important decisions because you could spend a lot of money that you don't necessarily need to spend if the operators can get to the right level of competency with maybe a lower fidelity model.
Yeah, and with a company like Air Products, I would imagine that you have many units that are very similar in shape and size, or in shape anyway.
Thank you.
We have another question in the audience. In the front, Alex.
Thank you very much. My name is Hamza. I'm from Aramco. This topic is very dear to my heart because I was heading a team that we were early adopters of some of these technologies. So I would like to briefly share some of the learnings, especially to echo some of what you said earlier. Sure. And also I will end with a question specifically to Reliance. By the way, Reliance talent stands out at Aramco. I have had the privilege to work with so many of them. So the reason our CEO requested is because the high success rate of the talented individuals that come to Aramco. Some of the key learnings we noticed that the AR, VR, there is clear use cases. So it's most of the time it's a technology pull rather than push for companies like Aramco. There is a need. We know that need. Unfortunately, the ecosystem of the market is addressing the problems that are kind of technology push, things that we don't really need, nice things, the wow factor. We noticed that in the ecosystem of the market, naturally we would go with automation providers, but we have seen that automation providers are extremely slow in the adoption process over the past few years. We've noticed that the total cost of ownership of an AR, VR solution or mixed reality solution, if we go with an automation provider, is much higher
Okay.
compared to small startups. However, the beauty of it is sustainability factor.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned an important point, which is integration. Integration is a key skill that automation companies have. I think it's an opportunity for automation companies to work at a faster rate, to simplify the deployment process. What we have noticed also as a key good practice is that the AR, VR mixed reality is kind of dear thing to generation Z, I would say, generation Y. And we have noticed, surprisingly, that when we approach or like try to build a business case, that unpredicted talent shine out. People that you have, clerks, some sort of business individuals, people doing finance, they are interested in this subject. So I think internal mobility is good for mixed reality, and we have tried that in Aramco. The question I wanted to ask is for you, Doctor, for Reliance. It seems that it's a huge scale project.
Yes.
Was it done in one facility, or are you doing it for all facilities across Reliance?
We focused on the latest facility we have in Jamnagar, which has about 42 plants. We focused on one plant, which is gasification.
And that training facility, the ITS, is it a facility that's only serving that plant, or it's generic in the sense that everybody
plant,
can
when
use
it comes to the process itself, the entire process, but there are, in each plant, there are generic packages and elements that we intend to isolate so that same system when we build it is replicated in those plants. We have, for example, 2 FCC units, and each refinery has 2 of those 2 FCC units. That means 4. So when we do one, and usually we replicate, we are going to use it for all. But if there are packages within that unit that are replicated in other places, we plan to use it. But when it comes to training, we are trying to design it so that you can switch from plant to plant in the same center, same layout center.
I guess with that, we'll wrap up our discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our speakers and panelists. Let's give them a big round of applause.